Hey guys, Bios Ramos, and today the Miami Dolphins winning streak comes to an end at the hands of the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee won 34-3. Not the best showing by the Miami Dolphins. We'll go over some team stats later, but let's get into some individual stats first. Tua Tagovailoa went 18 of 38 for 205 yards, one interception, and was sacked 4 times for a loss of 23 yards. Not the best showing by Tua. Conditions were not very good. Lots of, dropped balls, ball not coming out correctly, overthrows, underthrows. It was just not the best showing. Then you have Ryan Tannehill, who went 13 of 18, 120 yards, two touchdowns, no interceptions. Sacked once for a loss of 10 yards. So, way better showing than Tua by Ryan Tannehill. So, interesting to see that. Rushing, Duke Johnson led the Dolphins, 7 carries, 49 yards. Myles Gaskin, 5 carries, 23 yards. Phillip Lindsay and Tua both had 2 carries with 1 yard each. Dante Foreman looked like Derrick Henry out there for the Tennessee Titans. He had 26 carries, 132 yards, 1 touchdown. Longest was 35 yards. He was running all over the Dolphins. A few of his big runs got called back by big penalties, but, aside from that, he was just unstoppable. The Dolphins' defense could not contain him whatsoever. Dontrell Hilliard had 8 carries, 45 yards, 1 touchdown as well. Long one was 39 yards. I think that was the final touchdown that put the icing truly on the cake. Jeremy Nichols, 2 carries, 14 yards. Ryan Tannehill, 4 carries, 7 yards. Miami's leading receiver was Mike Gesicki. He had 4 receptions for 51 yards off of 7 targets. So that just kind of paints a picture, because then you have Jalen Waddle, 3 receptions, 47 yards. Longest was 45 yards, so he only had 2 receptions for 2 yards each time off of 7 targets. Devontae Parker had the most targets on the team, but one of the fewest receptions. 4 receptions for 46 yards, 13 targets. Lots and lots of dropped passes here by the guys in Miami, but not good. If you want to be a playoff team, you cannot be doing that. A.J. Brown, 2 receptions, 41 yards for the Titans. Longest was 25 yards. Dontrell Hilliard had 3 receptions, 33 yards. Anthony Frisker, 3 receptions, 24 yards, 1 touchdown. Geoff Swaim had 3 receptions, 9 yards, and a touchdown. Aside from that, fumbles. Big part of the game. Tua had 3 fumbles. He lost 1. Luckily, Duke Johnson was able to recover 1, and Liam Eichenberg was able to recover 1. Chris Minton fumbled 1, and I believe it was recovered by Elijah Molden. And then Tannehill fumbled 1, and Dontrell Hilliard recovered it. So the conditions were kind of... it was raining all day the day before in Tennessee, and then it got cold overnight, so it was just not the best field conditions and playing conditions. It was raining throughout the game as well. Dolphins' leading tackler was Christian Wilkins, 11 total tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Following him was Landon Roberts, 8 total, 5 solo, 1 tackle for a loss. Zach Sealer had 8 total, 4 solo. And then let's get into some other stats like Javion Holland, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection. Jerome Baker, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Nick Needham has a QB hit. Jalen Phillips and Raekwon Davis both have tackle for losses. Xavier Howard has a pass deflection. And that's pretty much the defensive stats, because, 3-34, the Dolphins' defense did not show up. You can't blame them, especially when the offense did not show up either. Next, for the Titans, Zach Cunningham was the leading tackler. 6 total tackles, 4 solo. Monty Hooker had 6 total, 3 solo, 1 pass deflection. Janoris Jenkins also had a pass deflection. David Long Jr. had a pass deflection as well. Danico Arthur had a sack and a tackle for loss, along with Harold Landry III. Both of them also had a QB hit. Christian Fulton had 2 pass deflections. Kyle Pecco had a sack, and Elijah Molden had a pass deflection. So just not a good showing for the Dolphins defense. David Long Jr. had the interception, but did not return it for anything. At the time being, it looked like he had returned it for a touchdown, but he was down by contact. Kick returns, Philip Lindsay had 2 returns for 34 yards. Longest was 18 yards. Dontrell Hillard had 1 return for 24 yards. Punt returns, Jalen Waddle had 1 for 15 yards, and Chris Minton had 1 for no return yards. Chester Rogers, 3 returns for 28 yards. Longest was 11. And Jason Sanders, 1 for 2 on field goals. Obviously, no extra points. Longest one was 39 yards. And then for the Titans, Randy Bullock went 2 for 2 on field goals. Longest was 44, and then 4 for 4 on extra points. Punts, Michael Pilardi had 4 punts, 147 yards, and 1 was in the 20. Longest was 42 yards. And then Brett Kern had 4 punts, 177 yards. 3 were in the 20. Longest was 52 yards. This helps Tennessee win the division in the AFC South and puts Miami Dolphins in a tough position, possibly to not make the playoffs. As it sits right now, Buffalo is the leader of the division, so New England is playing for the division title next week. A win and a Buffalo loss gets them the division title for the New England Patriots. Buffalo win and New England win, both it doesn't matter. Buffalo still wins the division. Dolphins, though, if they do beat New England, still leaves a possibility for them to make the playoffs, I believe. At the time being, I think if the Chargers lose, Dolphins have a 100% chance of competing for a playoff spot. But I think if they win, I think the Dolphins get bounced out. We'll see what happens here. Tough spot to be in. So when you look at some of the team stats, time of possession, pretty killed because 33 minutes and 12 seconds versus 26 minutes and 48 seconds for the Dolphins is not good here. Total yards, pretty much outplayed by 50 yards. 2 turnovers. First down's pretty much the same, but the rushing attack really killed the Dolphins. The fact that Tennessee just kept on running over this Dolphins defense really hurt them. And then offensively, just the inefficiency. So some of the keys to victory that I mentioned was getting pressure on Tannehill. Barely happened. Second was being consistent on offense, especially with running the ball. Couldn't run the ball because they got behind way too early. And then the conditions were good for running the ball, but since they were playing behind, they got a little too antsy and continued to throw the ball, make mistakes, which leads to the third one. Limit mistakes. 2 turnovers is not good for the Dolphins. I understand there are some plays that, hey, if the Dolphins get this, it might help them out. Like the fumble that didn't bounce the Dolphins' way. I don't know how that does not get called or reviewed. Flores had a flag in his hand and he was about to drop it, and the challenge flag, and I don't know what happened there. The pass interference that could have possibly been called on 4th and 11 when Devontae Parker was covered by Janoris Jenkins. So there's plenty of things you can point out and say, hey, maybe if this goes this way, then the Dolphins can win the game. I understand, but when it's such a big blowout like this, 34-3, it is what it is. So now, as the standings go and playoff picture is concerned, with the 1 o'clock games already played, we're going to look at the standings. And Dolphins do fall out of the wild card spot, but still are in the hunt currently. So it's going to be tough to see if they can stay in that picture. But I believe, so as the playoff standings go, Tennessee now moves into number 1 spot on their head-to-head win against the Chiefs. So both teams are 11-5. Cincinnati has clinched the division. Buffalo and New England both have clinched playoff spots. Las Vegas winning is what really took Miami out of the picture. So the 2 wildcard spots remaining are filled by the Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts, both at 9-7. Chargers winning puts them to 9-7, and then Steelers and Browns play Monday Night Football. That's going to be determined a lot more playoff spots. And Dolphins just remain ahead of Baltimore Ravens just because of the head-to-head win. So 1 Tennessee Titans, 2 Kansas City Chiefs, 3 Cincinnati Bengals, 4 Buffalo Bills, 5 first wild card spot New England Patriots, 6 Las Vegas Raiders, 7 Indianapolis Colts, and that's a cutoff. Then there's 8 Chargers, 9 Steelers, 10 Miami Dolphins. So tough spot to be in, but they have lots to improve on, and we just gotta wait till this week's over. And that is pretty much it for this post-game review, and just gotta wait and see. The 4 o'clock windows games do have some implications that could affect the Dolphins in terms of the Los Angeles Chargers and Denver Broncos. That's pretty much it on the AFC side. Also, the Monday Night Football game. Whoever loses that Monday Night Football game between the Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers does get eliminated from playoff contention. So, interesting to see who does drop out from that picture. But appreciate you guys for watching, and come back for the next video.